The cheers light the beam. You'll be hearing about that throughout the year with the Sacramento Kings.
Are you ready? They want it!
Yeah.
Light the beam!
They do not know what Sacktown brings. When on the low, that's a Sacktown thing. Talking about us, it's a bounce out thing. Must they forgot we some Sacramento Kings. Whole squad going crazy, yeah, we back with it. Northern Cali going crazy, one sack winning. If you doubted us, then ain't no back spinning. This is real right here, ain't no catfishing. So tell me what you see now. Coming down the lane off the rebound. It's 9-16 now. Look towards the sky like the beam now. Tell them like the beam, like the beam now. You can tell them like the beam now. Tell them like the beam now. You can tell them like the beam now. Tell them like the beam, like the beam now. You can tell them like the beam now. Tell them like the beam now. If you reppin' that Kings like the beam now. Sack proud, make sure everyone knows. Let me tell you how this thing really goes. Yeah, we travel deep, whether we home or on the road, we lit. You don't want that smoke, we the team of the year. We shaking things over here, don't doubt, we believe over here. We don't bleed over here. And let me just speak real clear, only deal with real Kings over here. So tell me what you see now. Coming down the lane off the rebound. It's 9-16 now. Look toward the sky like the beam now. Tell them like the beam, like the beam now. You can tell them like the beam now. Tell them like the beam now. You can tell them like the beam now. Tell them like the beam, like the beam now. You can tell them like the beam now. Tell them like the beam now. If you reppin' that Kings like the beam now.
Light the beam!
Refs, you suck. Refs, you suck. Welcome back to Royal Rebounds, the Sacramento Kings YouTube channel for fans, by fans. The Kings win tonight, Calvin. They beat the Rockets again, this time 139-114. Domantas Sabonis has a triple-double. We see a couple ejections in this game. No Kevin Huerter, no Kevin Porter Jr., no problem for the Sacramento Kings. Real quick, I want to give a quick shout-out to Young Zell for that intro song. I love it. I enjoy it. Every time I hear it, it gets stuck in my head. Light the effing beam. Calvin, welcome in. How are you? Happy Friday the 13th.
I'm good, Barry. I'm a lot better than Garrison Matthews. Homie might need a little extra security leaving the arena tonight. More like Rockets, you suck, instead of refs, you suck.
Oh, yeah, should be that. Shout out to Bench Matthew here. Yeah, that other Matthew's a bitch, Calvin, straight up. And as Matthew said, he's giving Matthews a bad name all around the world. Shout out to everybody here in the chat. Lane is here. Charles, Bench Matthew, Gothan, Jeff the Lefty, Rodders, Christian, Jim. Welcome in. Apex Legends. That's my guy, Fred. PK is here. Charles, you should eat some bread. Kyle is here. Fred Dixon, Sack Kings 005. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Jose is here, too. But, hey, welcome in. Calvin, it feels good, dude. It's Friday. We got another win. We're beating these Rockets. The Kings are officially on a 5-game, or they're 5 games above 500 now, Calvin, which is the first time that they've done that since 2006, Calvin. 2006, when we were graduating from high school. Wow. Does that make you feel old or what?
What happened that year, Barry, besides us graduating from high school?
2006?
Yeah.
I think a lot of things happened.
Kings made the playoffs.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. That's important. That is important. Good thought. You got me a little off track there. Shout out to Asha, J-Man. Welcome in, everybody. I love my life. Welcome. All right, Calvin. Let's get into today's show. So, Kings win tonight. Give me your first thoughts on the game.
Well, I loved how aggressive the Kings started this game. The Rockets, I thought, made some pretty good adjustments. You know, it goes to show playing a team twice in a row is a really difficult thing no matter what team it is. Houston started off very aggressive as well, but in a different way. They were attacking the basket tonight early and often. It was not the 3-point show and kind of spread the ball around the outside. In 2 days ago games, whatever that was, Wednesday's game, the Rockets were driving to set up the outside shot. Tonight they were driving to attack the basket and get to the free throw line, and that's what they did early on in this game. But give a lot of credit to Sacramento. They came out in the second half and played really good defense, I thought, all around. They made the right adjustments. They were jumping the screens. Davion Mitchell was great, coming off the bench as he usually is. We'll get into all these guys. I thought Fox was a lot better on defense and on offense, getting himself going a little earlier tonight. And Sabonis was great as usual. Barry, I'm going to try something new from now on. Everybody obviously loves to talk about my hair. So from now on, when the Kings win, the hair is down.
Oh, wow.
When the Kings lose, the hair is up.
Wow. Okay. I like it. That's pretty cool. Kings win 23-18, Calvin. We got to look here at the standings because it looks pretty good. I don't see Mike Monticello in the chat. I also don't see the bouncer in the chat. So make sure you guys definitely give them a hard time when they get here. Shout out to Ivan. Welcome in. Callum is here. But look at this, Calvin. The Kings advance. They're now the 4th seed, dude. The 4th seed in the Western Conference. They jump above Dallas. I believe the Clippers lost tonight as well. And, Calvin, I mean, looking at these past couple games here on the schedule, the Kings are on a 3-game winning streak. These all look pretty similar, Calvin. 136 to 111, 135 to 115, 139 to 114. We've been talking about all these close games and how I was basically going to have a heart attack. And I think the Kings got the message, Calvin, because they're winning games by 20 here in the last 3 games. So that feels great for me, and it does feel great, I'm sure, to a lot of Kings players out there. I want to talk about, the Kings rankings as far as offensive and defensive go. We know the Kings are the number 1 scoring team in the NBA, so I want to talk about that a little bit later. Hey, let's finish up this game here. Shout out to Charlie for joining in. Shout out to Lane and Ron, dude. Ron Dewar. Good to see you, Ron.
What's up, Ron?
Angels here. Calvin, let's dive here into the box score for tonight's game. Domantas Sabonis, huge game for him. 19 points, 15 rebounds, and 16 assists in 37 minutes of action. 6 of 14 from the field, but 0 of 3 from three-point range. Calvin, I'm going to knock him on something because he played incredible in every other category, including an awesome block in this game. He had a really, really good block in this game. 27 points for Harrison Barnes, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 8 of 14 from the field, and makes 5 threes in this game, Calvin. 5 of 8 from three-point range, including a bunch of those in the third and in the fourth quarter. HB could not miss from the three-point line late in this game. Only 8 points for Keegan Murray, only 20 minutes of action, 3 of 8 from the field, 1 of 5 from three-point range, but he was in foul trouble. A lot of this game ended with 5 personal fouls. We'll definitely talk a little bit about him. De'Aaron Fox, 24 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 9 of 14 from the field, 3 of 5 from three-point range, including a late 3 in this game. 33 minutes of action for him. 22 points for Terrence Davis. He does start in place of I don't want to say injured, but Kevin Huerter, who's out with a non-COVID related illness, whatever the hell that means, Calvin. 13 points off the bench for Trey Lyles. 15 for Malik Monk in 15 minutes of action, including 4 or 5 from three-point range. He was cooking tonight before he ends up getting ejected in this game. And then as far as the Houston Rockets go, 27 points for Smith Jr., a guy that I was really high on in the draft. Of course, he went 1 pick ahead of Keegan Murray, and 27 points for Jalen Green. He was on fire in the first half of this game, but definitely cooled off there towards the end. Calvin, I know everybody wants to talk about the fight. They want to talk about the ejections. I see you, Jeff. So, hey, let's interrupt the show, Calvin. Let's just stop everything. Let's give them what they want. Calvin, tell me how much of a bitch Garrison or Garrett or whatever the hell his name Matthews is.
He's definitely one of those punks. You can tell he's a hothead. His blood boils, at every little thing. He got a little chippy on Wednesday's game. I can't remember who he got into it with a little bit, but Keegan, yeah. So this is not something new. He's one of those guys. Definitely, he has to kind of, I think, play with his emotions, wear his emotions on his sleeves a little bit. That you can tell that's who the guy is. But as far as the ejections go, I know everybody wants to talk about it and whether or not they were justified. Probably not for some guys. Both teams were actually lucky because none of the guys that left the bench got ejected, and that's automatic every time. So I'm not really sure what happened there. Maybe they just felt like, okay, we've already ejected 4 people. We got to cut it off at some point. Otherwise, neither team is going to have enough guys left to play.
Just light the beam, eject everybody, light the beam, call it
right?
early.
Might as well have called it right then. But, I think my main outlook from the ejections is just that Malik Monk was a lot better today, a lot better, I think, in a lot of ways. He was hustling. We talked a lot about his shot and how you can tell if it's going to be a good night or not for him. His first shot was beautiful, and he drained it. He made the first 3 in a row. I also think that, 1 turnover tonight, I don't know if the ball was in his hands as much. I think he was playing with Fox a little bit more without Kevin Huerter being in there. And that might be something that the Kings want to look at more, because if Fox is going to have the ball in his hands, Malik can kind of play off the ball more as a traditional 2-guard. That might help him get his outside shot going. But I thought he was really aggressive, attacking the rim tonight, which we always love from him. And this definitely fueled, I think, the Kings. They really ended this game quickly. They were already on a pretty good run there before this, but they really shut it down after this. So this could be the type of thing that, really affects Houston negatively in the long run and just completely catapults Sacramento. We'll see.
Yeah. Now, keep in mind, these teams do play again not very long from now, Calvin. February 6th and the 8th, the Kings head to Houston to face the Rockets. Weird. Another back-to-back against the same team. The schedules continue to get weirder and weirder as the seasons go on. But, hey, I want to remind everybody, please smash up that like button. Calvin and I are just here for fun. We get paid in likes. So please hit that like button. Also hit that subscribe button. You guys know what happens at 50 likes. So hopefully we'll make it there and we can release the beasts, right, Calvin? But anyways, great night by Monk. But I want to talk some more about that. I guess I don't even know what to call it. It wasn't even really an altercation. I don't even think it qualifies as that. But hey, I think that obviously the play by Matthews, leaning in with the shoulder, was a non-basketball related play. So I think that should have been, a technical. I didn't like Malik, tapping the ball out. I thought that was, obviously something that's going to trigger somebody a little bit more. But we see it happen all the time, right? And guys don't get ejected from it. I do really, really like what I saw at De'Aaron Fox. We saw him run around the entire pile, grab Monk's arm, and pull him away, which I thought was great. I thought that was going to save Monk from getting ejected in this game. However, it did not, right? I think it was a bunch of BS. But we did see Trey Lyles step inside there. Maybe Trey is that enforcer that you guys have been looking for, right? He jumps in there. He pushes the guys apart. I have no idea why Metu got ejected in this game for pointing at somebody. I do have to give a shout-out to all the Kings players on the bench because they stayed on the bench like they're supposed to. And apparently Houston Rockets players can just go wherever they want on the court, Calvin, at any time with no repercussions. It'll be interesting to see what the NBA says about that. Are they closed on the weekends? Probably, huh? So we probably won't hear back from them until Monday or maybe Tuesday because I think Monday's Martin Luther King Day. So, Hey, we'll see what happens to those other 2 players. I do think that Katie and Mark, they were pretty honest during the broadcast saying maybe because of what happened in Orlando a couple weeks ago, the referees are just trying to eliminate stuff like that from happening. In my mind, if that's true, you would have ejected the guys that jumped off the bench. But hey, I know there was a lot going on there. I thought it was BS, Calvin. Honestly, I don't think anybody should have been ejected. I would have given Malik Monk a technical. I would have given Matthews a technical, even though I thought what Matthews did was a lot worse than what Malik Monk did. But I just probably would have given out a technical to each of those guys to try and calm things down. But then again, things can escalate. Like you mentioned on Wednesday, we did see the hard foul on Keegan Murray. So there is a little bit of a history, a little bit of a bad blood between some of these players here. So I'm excited to see what happens on February 6th. But the most important thing is the Kings get the victory. And the funniest thing for me is, I'm watching it, right? I tell Asha, I'm like, show's going to be delayed because these guys are trying to figure out what the hell's going to happen here, right? And they show Malik Monk. He's smiling. He's happy. All the Kings players are happy. Then they show Matthews. He's still pissed off over there. I don't even know what his deal is. I know he's pissed they're losing. But, hey, you're on the Houston Rockets. You're 10-31. You're playing against a great Sacramento Kings team, Calvin. I mean, the fourth best team in the West at this point. So I don't really know what he expected. But, hey, that's going to end my rant. I thought it was a bunch of BS. I would have ejected the entire Rockets team if it was up to me. But, hey, I Love My Life says, why no foul shots from that? Oh, that's a good question.
They all canceled each other out.
That is a good question. But there was a foul ahead of time, Calvin.
Yes, that's true, but it wasn't a shooting foul. I don't think they were in the penalty at that point.
Yeah, that is true. I didn't pay attention whether they were in the penalty or not.
I do wonder, they said one technical on Matthews and one technical on Monk. I thought you had to have two technicals to get ejected. I don't understand what that means, but I agree with you. I think the refs were totally just trying to make sure that nothing else crazy happened here. They wanted to, completely level the playing field, take guys that were in the middle of the altercation out so nothing else happened the rest of the game. If this was a closer game, who knows, maybe it would have been different. Personally, if I was officiating, I'd probably would have ejected Matthews, one maybe flagrant foul for the shove and then a technical foul on top of that for getting right into the face of Monk, who was pretty calm actually through most of that. I would have given Malik a technical for the punch of the ball, and I probably would have left it at that. But, I'm not an official, and thank God, because that job must suck.
Calvin, you're sounding like the Kings homer tonight, not me. So, hey, that's good for a change. Shout out to the bouncer. He decided to show up. Bouncer, we love you. Thank you for joining in. You're a little late, but we'll let you off this time. Some people were calling you out in the chat earlier. Lydia is here. I love all these Garrison Matthew jokes here in the chat. They are absolutely hilarious. Keep them coming. Definitely keep them coming. But, hey, Calvin, let's jump back here into the box score. Was there anything that really kind of stood out to you? I know you want to talk about the triple-double by Sabonis. Absolutely huge game from him. You mentioned, the lack of turnovers by a guy like Malik Monk. Only 1 assist for him tonight. Like I said, he only played 15 minutes. But when a guy like Domantas Sabonis has 16 assists, there's not a lot of other assists to go around, right? We see 3 for Harrison Barnes, 5 for De'Aaron Fox, 3 for Terrence Davis. Nobody else had more than 2 in this game. So any thoughts on that?
I think the thing that stands out for me the most is the shooting. This is the second time in 3 games the Kings have hit 20 or more threes in a game. And, the scores speak for themselves. They're the best scoring team, highest scoring team in the NBA. If the highest scoring team in the NBA is going to hit 20 threes in a game, you're going to have to play pretty perfect to beat them, even if that same team is not so good defensively.
What's up, Jay? Jay thought that Calvin or Barry was the bouncer. Interesting. No, I am not that talented. I'm a horrible multitasker, so we always appreciate help from the bouncer. He definitely helps take care of those. I'm not even going to say the word, Calvin, but he kicks them out every time. So appreciate you, bouncer. Appreciate you. Pika House is in the house. Fred Gonzalez is here. Welcome in, guys. Okay. I guess we should look here at the team stats because, Calvin, they look pretty sexy tonight, Calvin. 54% shooting from the field for the Sacramento Kings, 50% from three-point range. Calvin, we circle like the 13 threes number, right? The Kings have a much better record when they make at least 13 threes. I know a couple games ago they set the franchise record with 23 threes in a game. Calvin, 23s tonight on 40 attempts, 50% from the three-point line, 86% from the free throw line. The Kings out-rebounded the Rockets by 12 in this game. They out-assisted the Rockets by 11 in this game. They turned the ball over less. They had more fast break points in this game. Calvin, this was almost complete domination. I know the Kings were only up by 3 at halftime, but they really let them have it in the third and especially the fourth quarter of this game. This is almost like a mirror image of Wednesday's game. Anything here that really stood out to you as far as team stats?
Well, again, the shooting, and I think, Rodgers makes a good point here. To go back to the box score, Terrence Davis was so good tonight in every way, coming off of Wednesday's game where he got the start, and he did some good things. That one of the things I didn't mention that I should have mentioned on Wednesday was the rebounding. He had 6 boards. We had a huge discussion on rebounding on this channel a little while ago, and to get 6 rebounds out of your starting shooting guard, that's huge. But other than that, he looked a little unsure of himself. Obviously, it was the first time he had really played big minutes in a while. He didn't really get himself going shooting the ball. Tonight, they were really aggressive and ran the floor so well, especially in the second half. They used defense to fuel the fast break and get some easy looks, and that was enormously important for Terrence Davis. He's that type of guy with his speed, his athleticism. He's a great fast break or open court player, and they got him in positions to use those skills time and time again tonight, and that fueled the rest of the game for him. He's one of those guys, that really, being a role player, you kind of have to get yourself going, and it's not always going to come from just knocking down a jump shot. But if you do those other things, they made a big point on the telecast about the defensive breakdown. Mike Brown calls the timeout early, in the third quarter, and then he was pretty much lights out from the rest of the way there, or for the rest of the way. But his performance tonight was absolutely huge for the Kings without Kevin Huerter. That combined with Malik Monk scoring off the bench and another huge game offensively from Harrison Barnes. You get those types of performances from the role players on this team, and look out. If they play like this, they can make noise in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. This team shot incredibly well tonight. We all talk about the live by the 3, die by the 3. This Kings team lived at the 3-point line tonight. They lived at the free throw line. They lived anywhere they wanted on the court in this game. This was just a dominating performance. Garrison Matthews still uses MySpace. That is hilarious. Bench Matthew, shout out to you. Man, a lot of good jokes in here. This is hilarious.
Wear socks and flip-flops in the summer.
Fred's putting a hit out on Matthews, dude. He says, put Len in there and Len know what to do. Wow. Okay. All right. Lydia wants to know, who gets the defensive player of the game chain tonight, Calvin? Obviously, other than yourself. Of
course, myself. Why not, right?
Why not?
Our friend Nick. Why not give it to me? But no, it's not going to go to me tonight. I really wanted to give it to De'Aaron Fox because I talked a lot about how I would have loved to have seen a better effort from him defensively in Wednesday's game, and I definitely saw it tonight. But I'm going to give it to Davion again. I just can't not give it to this guy. He was so good defensively. I give it to him because he stands out so much on the court without scoring a single basket. I know he did score in this game, but when he plays like this, he had the block on Jalen Green. He was just really, really awesome for me. And his defense in the third quarter is partly what gave the Kings separation in this game and really closed it off a lot earlier than Wednesday night's game. So give it to Davion again for me.
Dude, I'm dying here in the chat. You guys are killing me over here. Callum says we should trade for Garrison Matthews. Bench Matthews says Garrison Matthews wears socks and flip-flops in the summer. And Ivan says Garrison Matthews is cut from the WNBA. Oh, man. So, Calvin, you're giving the chain to a guy that only played 11 minutes tonight, huh?
Yes, sir.
That's a bold statement.
Yes, I am.
Okay. I love Davion Mitchell, and he's defensive, presence.
I would be totally okay and
I'm
happy
probably giving it to
if De'Aaron
Sabonis.
Fox gets it, but
I'm probably going to give it to Sabonis. He had an awesome block in this game. I thought he did a great job, help defense at the rim. Obviously, the 15 rebounds, which, I like to stress rebounds, right? Defense is great, but unless you get a stop, unless you get a rebound, defense means nothing. So I like the combined defensive effort by him and the 15 rebounds. I'm probably going to give it to Domantas Sabonis, but we'll see what the Kings do.
Jalen Green had, I don't know exactly how many points at halftime, but I think it was 20 or more.
25.
Okay, so he had 2 points in the second half.
Yeah.
And that's because De'Aaron did a good job on him. I don't want to take anything away from him. I thought his effort on Jalen Green was really good. And even in the first half, Jalen Green was hitting a ton of really tough contested shots. But 2 points in the second half, and that's primarily with I almost combined them. De'Aaron and Davion on him. So give it to one of those guys for me.
You guys got to stop the jokes, man. I'm going to have to end the show here. I'm not even going to be able to complete the show. You guys are making me laugh this whole time. Oh, man, this is crazy. You guys are crazy. Shout out to Logan.
We might have to pull up Wikipedia on Garrison Matthews and put it on the screen here, Barry.
Oh, yeah? Is it pretty interesting?
Charlie saying a Kings fan edited Garrison Matthews' Wikipedia page. I don't know if it's work appropriate, but hey,
we're not at work, so perfect.
We're not at work.
All right, let's take a look here, dude. Let's take a look here. Garrison Matthews, Wikipedia. See, even in this photo, he looks mad, dude. I don't know who this fan is, but shooting guard.
So apparently it's the last sentence, I think.
Undrafted. He is the son of Sacramento Kings player Malik Monk. I love it. Gary Bird.
Awesome.
Oh, man.
Awesome.
That is hilarious. I wish I could, upvote that, I approve that. That's hilarious. Dude, the first time I ever used Wikipedia was, in college, and I didn't even know that you were allowed to, edit pages. And I was on this page, and there was, an edit button. And I was like, that's weird. I just clicked the edit button. I'm like, somehow I'm logged in on the Wikipedia page as an admin, So I literally just copy and delete the entire page. And then 10 minutes later, I get a bunch of mean emails from Wikipedia telling me how they're going to ban me and all this stuff. And dude, I was so confused. I didn't even know what was going on, but that's hilarious. Yeah, Ivan. Gary Turd, not Gary Bird. I like that one much better. But hey, let's stop talking about the guy. Unless you guys have more jokes, drop them here in the chat. But hey, I'm going to try and stay at least a little bit on topic. I got to give you guys a little bit more than I did on Wednesday night. So hey, we're going to dive here a little bit deeper. What were we even talking about? Oh, defensive player of the game chain, right?
Yeah.
What's up, Patrick? Good to see you. Okay. Anything else you want to say about Sabonis, Calvin? I kind of talked about him a little bit. Triple-double, historic night for him. The dude is leading the NBA in rebounds. He's leading the NBA in double-doubles. The dude is playing exceptionally well. Dude, give him some love, Cal.
I can't give him enough. I said before, three certainties in life, right? Death, taxes, and tonight it was a triple-double, not a double-double. But the guy is just amazing. I mean, he probably could have scored 20 more points in the last 2 games based on how many close shots he missed at the rim over these past couple games. Stuff that we are very accustomed to seeing him knock down. But I think all you need to know about the last couple of games, Sagan is a good player. A very young player, youngest center in history to have a triple-double at 20 years old. If he comes back next season and puts on 10 to 15 pounds, it's because of Domantas Sabonis. He absolutely beat him up inside. And for a guy that's playing with a broken thumb, you never see him complain about it at all. For a guy that is, becoming one of the biggest, if not the biggest stars on this team. He's all about the team all the time. You cannot give Domantas Sabonis enough love. He's been everything for this team. He's what makes them go, alongside with De'Aaron Fox and the three-point shot. Those are the 3 most important things for this team.
Calvin, do you think he's a legitimate MVP candidate, as Patrick says here in the chat?
It depends on what you mean by legitimate. Yes, he deserves to be in the conversation. I am certainly not going to sit here and say that he's going to get a ton of votes right now, whether you think that's right or not. MVP is sometimes a very arbitrary award when it comes to voting, but there's a ton of guys putting up some ridiculous numbers right now. There's a guy at his position who's equaling, if not bettering, all his numbers right now, and his team is in first place in the Western Conference. Oh, by the way, he also won it the last 2 years. So it's going to be really, really hard for Domantas Sabonis to be a legitimate, in my mind, MVP candidate. That doesn't take anything away from how important he is to this team. And I think if the Kings finish, in fourth or better, even possibly in the Western Conference, he's definitely going to be in the conversation and get some votes. I'd be surprised if he won, but he should definitely be in the conversation. Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. He should be in the conversation. He's having an incredible season. Obviously, he's helping, get the Kings to where they are now. I want to talk about Mike Brown a little bit later, too, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. I got a lot of praise for Mike Brown. And I want to hear from all the Mike Brown haters, Calvin. When we were hosting podcasts, announcing the coach hire, and people were so upset in the chat. So I want to hear from some of those guys. But we'll talk about that here in a second. But, yeah, Sabonis is playing incredibly well. But there is a lot of good players in the NBA, a lot of good players. Yes. I think the Joker will end up winning his third MVP in a row, which is so amazing. Just to see what he did last year with that squad, with the second and third best player out. He's doing it again, probably even better this year. So a huge shout out to him. But I don't want to take anything away from Domantas Sabonis. He's been playing incredibly well. Fred, I see you here in the Twitter Spaces. Let me just finish up a couple more things, and we'll definitely bring you on because we love to hear from you. That's for sure. Okay, Calvin, let's talk quickly about Harrison Barnes. Like I said, 27 points, 7 rebounds for him tonight. You've been talking about how rebounds from some of the others, right? Not Sabonis, but some of the wings, some of the guards has been huge. Obviously, the Kings got that tonight. They got the scoring tonight, the incredible shooting by Harrison Barnes. Did you see anything different from him? Because, he seemed like the same old guy, but you look at these numbers, this is obviously a much better performance than we become accustomed to as far as this season goes. What were your thoughts on him?
Well, for him, the biggest difference you see from him is the outside shooting. He's still been, he didn't have 7 rebounds on Wednesday night. That was a much better, I think the team, was a little bit more focused tonight on crashing the boards. They still gave up, 12 offensive rebounds, which is a fair amount to give up, but they also grabbed 14 themselves. So they were definitely focused on crashing the glass. They had 4 guys today with 5 guys, with 4 or more today. Terrence Davis got 6 more rebounds himself. So it's a team effort. We talked about it being a mentality, something that you just have to come with every day, just like playing defense, because as you mentioned earlier, it's one of those things, closing out possessions, getting the rebound. That's the last part of finishing off a good defensive possession. And I thought that they were much more aggressive, had a lot more energy, and were more focused on that portion of the ball, both on offense and on defense. Davis, Lyles, and Barnes, and even Fox. I talked about how Fox should be a better rebounder. He hit that 5 number for me today. If he's able to average, over 5 rebounds a game, get that number up above 5 for the rest of the season, that's going to really change things for Sacramento.
Yeah, that definitely is huge. Speaking of defense, you brought up Keegan Murray. 8 points for him tonight, only played 20 minutes. He was in foul trouble in this game. Why do you think he ended up in foul trouble so early? Was it the Rockets were specifically attacking him? You think he was just in a bad position? Did he look tired tonight? We have not seen this version of Keegan Murray. He still shot the ball pretty well, 3 of 8 from the field. Not great from three-point range, only 1 of 5. But he looked still confident out there tonight. But, we haven't really seen him play in foul trouble before. So what was different tonight?
Well, it's so it's been talked about a lot, and it's so obvious that Keegan's been challenged by Mike Brown for a couple of things, right? How are you going to affect the game when you're not making threes? Tonight was one of those nights, right? And the ways that he's been challenged to affect the game are get rebounds and be a good help side defender and take charges. I think that Keegan is so focused on this sometimes that he attempts to take a charge when it's pretty obvious that he has no shot at it. And tonight, that's why he got in foul trouble, I think. Being a coachable guy is good, right? But you can be too coachable, I guess, sometimes. Like, I think that his mind is so focused on doing that, just like he's so focused on, I have to make myself available for the three-point shot, that when that gets taken away from him, he's so unsure what to do with the ball. He'll take one dribble and all of a sudden it's like a deer in the headlights type thing. Like, what do I do now? I think if he were the dunk was great tonight, right? And why was that good? Obviously, dunking on somebody is nice, right? But when he got the ball, he was assertive and immediately went to the move. I know he's not great at putting the ball on the floor. He's not good at making plays for others either. But if you're just decisive with it, if you take one dribble and immediately pull up for the open shot, or if you drive to the rim immediately, you might not make the shot, you might not dunk on somebody, but you might get fouled, you might go to the free throw line. I think that's what it just needs to be a quicker decision. I think he's thinking too much, and that's why he got in foul trouble tonight, because he's thinking so many times in his head, I have to get there to take the charge. Even if he's going to be late, he's still thinking, I have to get there.
Yeah, I agree 100%, Calvin. And I think that this is, nothing to panic about. It's something to build off of, right? I think, as a rookie, there's so much new things happening, right? And yeah, the game has started to slow down a little bit for him, but I think it will continue to slow down. We saw guys like De'Aaron Fox, right? In his first year, he had a great first year, but, he talked about year 2, year 3, year 4, the game really started to slow down, and he could kind of see where he was supposed to be in all times. I think the same thing will happen for Keegan Murray. So, unfortunate night for him, but hey, the most important part is the Kings win. I think that's all he really cares about at this point. But some more learning lessons, and shout out to him. Shout out to Bench Matthew. Have a good night playing Star Ears. And Lee, welcome in, Lee. Good to see you. Good to see you, Lee. And that was a great dunk, great and one. So I definitely love that. But hey, I just want a little bit more out of Keegan. I think that he can do it. I think he's capable. It's not that I want to criticize him. It's just I'm so high on Keegan Murray because I feel like this kid has everything it takes to be a great NBA player. So like Mike Brown, right? You got some tough love. Some guys respond to it. Some guys don't. So far, he has definitely responded. So shout out to him. Okay, Terrence Davis. He did start tonight. For the injured or the sick, whatever, Kevin Huerter. 31 minutes of action. You mentioned 6 rebounds were huge, 3 assists, 22 big points, 7 of 14 from the field, 3 of 7 from three-point range. I love when I see an aggressive Terrence Davis. We saw him make a mistake on defense where he doesn't jump above the screen. Mike Brown calls a timeout, yelling at him for it. He returns, and it just seems like a switch got turned, and he seemed much, much better off after that point. Calvin, when Harrison Barnes, when Terrence Davis and some of these other guys play like this Kings team is almost unbeatable in my mind. When they can get performances like this, I mean, dude, 49 points between Harrison Barnes and Terrence Davis is absolutely huge for the Sacramento Kings. Do you think Terrence Davis is just finally, getting back into the rotation, getting more comfortable, or was it maybe something else?
Well, I think it's a combination of that and like you said, being more aggressive. He's one of those guys, just like De'Aaron Fox. I think that they need to be, in order to get themselves going offensively, it's got to be inside out, especially for Terrence Davis because he takes more threes than Fox does. Fox is really, the mid-range and restricted area king, right? That's where he lives. Sometimes he can get a little loose with the three-point shot. But Terrence Davis, he's a guy that's out there and has not that Fox doesn't have a green light to shoot threes, but he has the expectation that he's going to let it fly from three. I thought on Wednesday's game, they tried to get him shots early and they were outside. He's one of those guys that I think really benefits from trying to attack and get to the rim early and often. And he did that tonight. And then, of course, refocusing on defense after that breakdown. Mike Brown calls the timeout, calls him out. I talked just a second ago about being coachable. Terrence Davis is clearly a very coachable guy. When he gets pointed out something, he corrects it pretty quickly. But the fact that they got in the open court a lot tonight, Terrence Davis was the guy leading the way, with the ball in his hands. And he's one of those guys, really fast in the open court. So fast, maybe I'll even say. And, I think that's the way that Terrence Davis really has big nights. It's combined with getting consistent minutes, though. That's, I think, something that, it's for every player, really, right? It's hard to have huge production if you don't get consistent minutes. 2 starts in a row, even though he didn't have the greatest overall game offensively on Wednesday, getting those those reps in again, and being on the floor with the starters, combined with being aggressive early, getting to the rim, that's what propelled him, I think, in this game.
The Kings won, yeah. Oh, yeah, the Kings won, yeah. The Sacramento Kings, oh, yeah, the Kings won, yeah. Fox is so fast. Sabonis is so strong, yeah. Coach Mike is so smart, yeah. They are the playoff bound, yeah.
Calvin, we might have to get you one of those chains that says Island Boys on it, dude. I think maybe one of those chains will look good on you.
Perhaps.
Shout out to Edward for joining in. Key Kings is here. Ray Smooth is here. Ray says Sabonis, 3 times 15 is wild. Where will he finish on the All-NBA team? Calvin, you think he makes All-NBA first team?
He's got a very good chance. Thankfully for him, he doesn't play in the Eastern Conference, because good luck making first team All-NBA if you're a front court player out there. Right. It's hard enough to be a starter in the All-Star game if you're a front court player. But I think right now, him and Jokic, they've got to be in high, basically 1-2 for All-NBA on the center forward list.
Would anybody not want to have Sabonis on their team at this point? The guy is not selfish. He plays almost every single game. Like you mentioned, he's dealing with like a broken thumb ligament. He's not complaining. He's always smiling. He does all the hard work. We see him get hit in the face multiple times every single game, including tonight. Doesn't complain at all. He's out there. So I think everyone would love to have Sabonis. And, I'm talking about all-star voting too, right? All-star voting right now is fans only, but it's only 50% of the weight. Edwards reminding everybody it's 3-for-1 voting today. So if you do vote today, it's 3 votes for 1. But hey, it's a little bit different when you're talking about all NBA. You're talking about coaches. You're talking about media members that are around these people all day long, all season long. I think they're definitely going to want to have Sabonis on the All-NBA first or second team. I hope he does make the first team, because he definitely deserves it. If
he doesn't make at least second team, it's a crime. Absolute crime. The only thing that, again, just like MVP, the only thing that's really going to be a problem for him is the fact that he plays center and Jokic is having another phenomenal season. But if he doesn't make at least second team All-NBA, that's going to be rough.
Dude, imagine having those 2 guys on the same team. That would be wild. That would be absolutely wild. 2 guys that can do everything. Red says, good thing the Kings players don't have players with attitude problems. Yeah, I agree 100%. Pika House says, this team has more wins than 2008 and 2011 teams did all year long. Wow, that is crazy. Shout out to DJ here for joining in. Okay, Calvin, and Silva here is also here. We got to get to Fred here, but I want to just finish up talking about these players real quick. Otherwise, I get completely off topic. But I know Fred's got a lot to say, and I want to hear from him. So real quick, De'Aaron Fox, 24 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. You mentioned the defense. Also, we should throw out there that he is number 1 in the NBA in offensive rating in clutch time. I think he's like a number 1 in points in the fourth quarter. The dude is playing exceptionally well. We see him hit that turnaround, mid-range fader over and over again. He hits a couple threes in this game, has a dunk in this game. I really, really like what I'm seeing out of De'Aaron Fox. And speaking of dunks, that putback dunk at the beginning of the game was absolutely incredible. Yeah. But real quick, break down Fox, then I want to move in here and quickly go over the bench before we talk to Fred.
Well, I think all you need to say about Fox, he was the same Fox that we've seen all year long, got himself going later in the game. That fourth quarter, third quarter is when you see the point explosion. But the night and day difference to me from his aggressiveness early on in this game, which is exactly what I said I wanted to see from him after Wednesday. I thought that he just wasn't quite assertive and effective enough defensively. Guarding Jalen Green is not an easy thing, but he was much more committed to it today from start to finish. I also thought he did a good job of getting himself going offensively in the first quarter without hogging the ball too much, right? Like, that's one of the things that we sometimes criticize De'Aaron for. We're like, why doesn't he be more aggressive and look to shoot early on? I think the game plan that the Kings have for how they play offensively is fine, but I would still like to see him, try to get to the free throw line, get to the basket, get himself some early buckets so that that can open up the floor offensively for everybody else. I don't want to see him completely suck the ball away and take shot after shot after shot. But I thought how he played the game offensively tonight was pretty much perfect. The only thing that I really want to see less of from him, his closeouts are great because he's so quick, but he flies by guys all the time. Yep. The NBA, everybody's such a good shooter. I understand the pressure of closing out to a three-point shooter and trying to contest shots. But the flip side of that is guys use the pump fake, especially in the corner, all the time to get themselves open three-point looks because they know guys are going to be charging at them hard. I would much rather see De'Aaron Fox have a great closeout and just sit down in the stance. And if you've got to contest the shot even a little bit late, then I'm okay with that. But there were a couple plays that they gave up layups on because he ended up in the front row flying by somebody on a pump fake. That's the only thing that I have. It's a very little thing. The only thing that I have on him tonight, but he was much better getting over screens. He was in Jalen Green's grill all night long, picked his pocket a couple of times. Yeah, he got himself going defensively with some easy buckets. Again, something that I wanted to see compared to Wednesday's game. So I was really, really happy with him. The whole team kind of had a rough turnover spell in the second quarter, and a couple of those were his as well. So, you can maybe knock him a little bit for that too. But overall, I thought he played a fantastic game.
Yeah, I agree. Shout out to Matthew. Matthew's pissed because we're not getting Victor Wembanyama. That's okay, Matthew. It's okay. And shout out to Brian here. But Calvin, I agree. There are moments where I'm just like, dude, just don't leave your feet. Close out and then just don't jump. Just stay there. But I get how hard it can be, right? Since the NBA outlawed face guarding, right? The good old Shane Battier, where you just cruise right in there and you put your hand in the other guy's face, block his eyes out, makes it a lot easier to not go for the ball, not be jumping, right? But I would like to see him do that a little bit more. We even saw a Boban sighting tonight. We saw Boban with a ball fake tonight, fools the defender. So, yeah, you're right. Guys continue to use ball fakes, pump fakes, all sorts of stuff to get you to leave your feet. So I think De'Aaron is so good. He's so quick. He's so fast that sometimes he just wants to rely on that to help make up for a mistake, or he gets overzealous and he just wants to have this block in somebody's face. But I think you're right. If you can just sit down a little bit in your stance, be a little bit more patient, just be up on the guy. You don't have to block a shot. Just contest it. Just be there. Make it a little bit harder. I think will definitely help this team in the long run. That's for sure. Okay, as far as the bench goes, I got to give – one last thing I want to say about De'Aaron Fox. I know I mentioned it earlier in the stream, but a lot of people are just joining in here, so welcome in. Welcome to Royal Rebounds, Sacramento Kings YouTube channel for fans, by fans. If you're a Kings fan, smash up that like button, hit that subscribe button. We are live after every single game, Calvin. Win, loss, or if Barry's out having fun, if Calvin's out having fun, we're here. We're drinking beers, and we're having a lot of fun. But, hey, I want to give another shout-out to De'Aaron Fox for that altercation. I saw him run around. He grabbed Malik Monk's hand, pulls him away from the pile. That is the leadership you want from your best or your second-best player. I think that's absolutely huge. So shout-out to De'Aaron Fox for that. Okay, let's talk about the bench here. I continuously just, I love Trey Lyles, and I know almost after every single game I just speak so highly of him. But he impresses me, Calvin, more and more every single game that I see. 30 minutes of action tonight, 6 and 9 from the field, 13 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, makes a 3 in this game. We also see him pump fake at the three-point line, take it to the basket and jam it. I thought he also did a great job in that altercation of separating players. Dude, Trey Lyles to me is just a winner, dude. If I could take one word to describe Trey Lyles, it would be winner, because he makes the plays that are so, so important. Sometimes they don't always show up on the box score. Tonight, a lot of them did. I know you want to give some love to Trey Lyles too, so I'll give you the mic. And then you want to highlight anybody else here on the bench, you can go for it.
Well, yeah, I mean, Trey Lyles, fantastic. Again, the guy's been so solid for them. And this is why, we talked about should Trey Lyles start over Keegan Murray. This is why I want to keep them where they're at. I think that Trey Lyles, his ability to come into the game still in the fourth quarter, if Keegan is not playing well or is in foul trouble, he won't miss a beat with the starters because his game fits seamlessly with the rest of this team. The ability to space the floor as a three-point shooter for a big man or a Kings big man, the ability to crash the rim for offensive rebounds. He makes smart decisions with the basketball, knows when to put it on the floor, is good at taking it to the rim and getting to the free throw line, a willing passer as well. And he made all the hustle plays tonight. You saw him repeatedly running back on defense, getting his hand in the passing lanes, or coming up with a big board. He's been the most consistent player for them overall in all facets of the game off the bench. I think that his role on this team is not only cemented, but it's so good for this Kings team, for everybody on the team, because he can play with any combination of any lineup that they're going to throw out there. So when he's hitting that outside shot, like he has been consistently over the last few games, just like Harrison Barnes, it's a game changer for Sacramento. As far as the rest of the bench goes, I'll keep it pretty short because I already highlighted, the guys that I wanted to talk about. I thought Davion's defense, for only playing, like you said, 11 minutes, his imprint on the game was huge, and his defense on Jalen Green in the second half was huge. And then Malik Monk, definitely happy to see him get a bounce-back game, get his outside shot going, and I think the point about playing maybe with De'Aaron Fox more so he can play off the ball rather than trying to be the guy that initiates a lot of the play offensively with the ball in his hands. Still want to see him be aggressive and go to the basket, but maybe use him more as a traditional two guard. That might benefit him, get himself going from three a little bit more, help the Kings cut down on turnovers a little bit, and help them be more efficient offensively.
Yeah, all great points. Also, we had a Richaun Holmes sighting tonight, Calvin. 4 minutes for him. Made a 3 in this game. I definitely want to talk about Richaun Holmes because he's been all over the news. But, hey, one last comment here on Trey Lyles. Jim says Trey Lyles is Robert Horry. Calvin, you agree or disagree with that?
I disagree. I think Trey Lyles is a much better and a much more complete player than Robert Horry.
Okay. That's what I was going to say, too.
Robert Horry
is Mr. Right Place, Right Time.
Exactly. I mean, look, you got to give him credit. He's hit a lot of big shots in his career, and not everybody, does that. What's the famous quote from Jordan? I've taken how many game-winning shots and I missed more than I made and all that stuff. I understand that's not a fair comparison, but look, being in that position, I've hit a couple of game winners in my career, and that's a pretty special feeling, and you gotta have the balls to take those shots, right? But Robert Horry was nothing outside of those and played for some very, very, very good teams.
I mean, Jim, I like the comparison. I honestly do, but I do agree with you, Calvin. I think that Trey Lyles is a much better player. He's a much more well-rounded player, but I can see the comparison. A bigger guy, both played with the Spurs, both can stretch the floor, shoot the three. They're both pretty fundamentally sound, so I definitely get that. But, hey, great game for the Sacramento Kings tonight. They win 139-114. They're currently on a 3-game winning streak, and now 5 games above 500. The last time they did that was 2006 when they made the playoffs, Calvin. But hey, let's jump here into Twitter Spaces. Shout out to Central Valley King and Double O. If you guys want to join us on Twitter Spaces, all you got to do is go over to Twitter, follow us at Royal_Rebounds. You can click on our profile picture and join our Twitter Space. You can come up on stage and you can have your voice heard. Calvin, on that note, Fred has been waiting forever. We know it's late, Fred. We appreciate you for being patient.
Fred.
But Fred, welcome up on stage. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, guys. How are you? Barry, Calvin, are you good?
Oh, yeah. We're doing fantastic, dude. Always good after a Kings win.
It was nice, wasn't it? It was nice. It's only going to be a flying visit anyway, but I just thought I'd just check in and just say hello to you guys and everybody else.
Fred, you're not getting away that easy. I got some questions for you.
Yeah, go for it. I only really saw the second half. I was drinking in the pub beforehand. I was watching the game, but I was introducing like some of my workmates, and 2 or 3 of us were sort of sitting there watching it, and they've never watched basketball before, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm quite enjoying this," you know. So I'm trying to get some more Kings fans from the UK, really.
Hell yeah! Beautiful. Fred is recruiting Kings fans, dude. I have been seeing Kings fans in Hawaii all week long. I saw him at the golf tournament. I know we got tagged on Twitter by a Kings fan, said they were hiking in the jungle on Maui today, and a Kings fan yelled at them, "Light the beam." It was not me. I was in the jungle yesterday, not today, so it was not me. But I've seen Kings fans everywhere, and it just feels so good to see all these Kings fans. So shout out to you, Fred, for recruiting more, because we definitely need more. But my question to you is, we are officially 41 games into the season, which marks the halfway point of the NBA season. I showed the standings here a little bit earlier. The Kings are the 4th seed. They're 23-18. My question for you is, do the Kings kind of stay along the same path that they've been at? Do you think they fall off a little bit, or do they get even better in the second half of the season?
Well, I'm kind of looking at the numbers now. I think we'll definitely stay top 6. I can see us like staying in the top 6. The Golden State Warriors are going to be a dangerous team in the second half of the season, in theory, if they can get their act together. I think we'll make top 6. It'd be nice to hit 4th. We're sitting in 4th at the minute, to have that home advantage going into the playoffs as well. Also, a little bit of a segue going into the playoffs as well. Malik Monk tonight. He was winding players up, wasn't he? And it was nice to see. He was winding them up. Obviously, he got ejected, but you just know he was winding those Rockets players up from the moment he got onto the court. And how I see that's like a psychological thing. Now, if we're going to the playoffs, he is going to be doing that over possibly 7 games. That's a big advantage for us, isn't it? He is the instigator. Yeah, so much the instigator. Yeah, probably is. But sometimes you need that. You need that player in there who goes in there and just winds the opposition players up and gets in their heads, you know. It can do wonders for a team, can't it? And we've lacked that player for a long time. That player who can go in there. Hang on, my dogs are playing around there. Dogs, behave yourself. But yeah, now he's going in, and he obviously instigated that. He wound that player up, and he had that big smirk on his face. It was job done for him, wasn't it? It was job done, you know. So yeah, hats off to him tonight. Well done to Malik for doing that. And
I think that we've actually had that player for a while, However, the main difference is when we've had that player has not been able to control their own emotions, right? We
it was called DeMarcus, wasn't it?
We had a Cousins, right? We had some of these other guys. I mean, shout out to Zach Randolph, because by the time he ended up in Sacramento, he was definitely much, much better mannered. But I get it. You know, sometimes you need that guy that's going to kind of pick away a little bit. Maybe
He was
Deli's
just
that
chipping
guy
in their
too.
ears, wasn't he? Yeah, well, obviously Deli, and the great thing is Monk went off and then we brought Deli on. So, you know, that's the best of both worlds. So we need that. We've got a little bit of toughness there. Like I said in the last time I was on, we were a little bit too soft. But I think Malik kind of he stepped up tonight and he kind of proved that, you know, we've got a little bit of a hard edge there. So yeah, it's nice to see. It is really nice to see. And it wouldn't surprise me as well, like you were saying, that they were kind of picking on Keegan in the last game. Now, perhaps going into this game where Keegan didn't play overly brilliantly, maybe they were winding Keegan up, and then when Keegan sat back down, I think maybe Malik was kind of getting that impression. So then he went out there and he was like, you know, he was like the big brother, went out there and you know, got stuck into him. So, yeah, that's my take on that one.
I think it's spot on. I mean, you know, you've mentioned it a bunch of times on the show here about how Malik's energy is infectious for the rest of the team. Whether it's in a lighthearted way or in a competitive way, he's got a good balance of both. I think it's really, really good for Sacramento.
Shout out to Dirt and Rust here for joining in. Calvin, I mean, you agree with that? You think that he is an antagonizer? You think he's what did he get ejected for?
Having charisma.
Having charisma. There you go. I like that better.
Oh, that's hilarious. Fred, we have some people here in the chat. They want to know about the Tractor Boys. I have no idea who the Tractor Boys are. Can you explain it to me?
My team is Ipswich Town, Ipswich. I was thinking about this earlier. I spoke to you about my local soccer team. They're like a couple of divisions down from the Premier League. We'll be back in the Premier League within 2 or 3 years now. We've got a good structure at the club. Have you guys ever heard of a singer called Ed Sheeran?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he is a diehard Ipswich fan. He goes to the games when he's not on tour, sits in obviously the boxes, sometimes sits in the stands with the fans and watches the games. And also our actual football team shirt as well. Our sponsor is actually Ed Sheeran. So his concert tour is actually printed on the front of our football shirt. So there we go. There's a little bit of a claim to fame for our soccer team over here. But cool. We got a big game tomorrow. We're playing the team who are top of the league, Plymouth Argyle.
Will you be in attendance?
And we should beat them. And it's going to be a packed out house tomorrow as well. 30,000 supporters will be there. I won't be there. I've got work tomorrow night, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would be there. 100% I would be there. I can't go.
He's like your guys' 50 Cent, because I saw 50 sitting courtside next
50
to
was there
today.
again, and he's a lucky charm for us, isn't he? You know, he was there in the last time he lit the beam, didn't he? With he was there with Metu, wasn't he? Was he there with Metu?
Yeah.
And he was there again tonight, yeah. So I think maybe we just need to get 50 there for every game.
I love it, man. He had the Kings gear on. That's great. Apparently all these rappers, they all just hop on right when the Kings are starting to get good, I guess.
Well, I think they hop onto any team who's doing well. So I suppose that's probably a good thing, isn't it? So if the rappers can see some publicity in a decent NBA team, then they're going to jump on it. So, yeah, we're going to make the playoffs then. We're going to definitely make the playoffs.
That's right.
Second thing I want to bring up tonight.
Oh. You think Calvin's hair is safe? You said 6th seed.
So what's happening to Calvin's hair? Are you going to shave it off if we get to
the 4th seed?
Well, 5th or better.
Oh, sorry, 5th or better.
Yeah.
I hope we get 5th because he's got great hair. You got to keep your hair. You can't shave that hair off.
Well, then you want 6th. You want 6th. 5th, I have to shave it.
No, even if we get 4th, just give him a bye. Give him a bye. You can't be doing that. And the thing is, you could just look at the hair.
Shave is not the right word. It's going to be buzz.
Yeah.
I have a really small
and
head.
the other thing,
maybe
maybe
ears. It's not going to look good if I go clean shaven. So
and
buzz
Calvin,
we can do.
And Calvin, maybe the hair is the lucky charm. So maybe if you get rid of the hair, we might not play as well. So maybe you have to keep that hair to keep us winning.
Point, Fred.
Yeah,
like that.
see.
I think that's a bunch of BS, Fred. I think we cut the hair off. We make a wig that he wears next season after the wins.
What, a Wednesday wig, yeah?
Oh, man. All right.
Anyway,
I wanted to ask you guys about a little bit about coaching, Calvin. I want to ask you first, and then Fred, I'll have you dive in afterwards. But obviously, the Kings are finally playing, what I think they should be playing like, right? They added in a few players in the offseason, but I think the biggest difference, in my opinion, is coaching, right? You got Mike Brown. I really love the addition of Jordi Fernandez. And we saw guys like Doug Christie move to the bench and some other additions like that. But, Calvin, I want to hear from you. What do you think the chances are Mike Brown could potentially win Coach of the Year? What do you think he's overall brought to this team? And then you want to touch on Jordi as well?
I think the chances he wins Coach of the Year are great. I mean, if they stay in the top 4, I don't want to say he's a lock, but, you look at the other teams in the top 4 of each conference, they've all been there for a while. I mean, maybe Denver hasn't been in the top 4 necessarily, but they've been a playoff team. They have a multiple time MVP. The Celtics have been in the top 2 in the Eastern Conference for the last 2 years. The Nets are there. Milwaukee's been in the finals. It's definitely a testament to their coaching staffs to keep them in those positions. But if you look at total team turnaround in 1 year, nobody, maybe outside of us diehard Kings fans, on a national level, absolutely no one expected the Kings to be where they're at right now. I think Mike Brown has all the momentum going for him to win Coach of the Year. What has he brought to the team? I mean, we've had this discussion before. He brings assertiveness. You hear all the time guys are talking about how it's good to be coached hard. He definitely doesn't, show favoritism to his best players. He coaches them equally as hard, demands even more out of them than the rest of the team. I think he's been great for Keegan Murray. He's gotten these guys to buy in. I mean, that's to me at the professional level what separates you. All these guys know basketball. Even Luke Walton, he might not have been a great player, but he knows basketball. He grew up around it. His dad was a great coach. He knows, X's and O's. He was a good out-of-bounds caller, all of that stuff. But I never really saw him as much of a motivator. Saying the phrase leader of men is probably a little harsh, I guess, but he just didn't seem to be a guy that galvanized the rest of the team and they came together around him. Mike Brown, it seemed like that from day one. He just has that infectious energy and personality. And I think that his previous experience in the NBA has prepared him for this moment to take a team that's on the rise but doesn't have, the elite level talent in the NBA, but they've got enough talent combined with his experience to make this thing work. And he's bringing all these young guys along at the same time. He's been really, really great.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Well, it's official. Sabonis gets the chain. I'm going to play a little video of that while, Fred, I want to hear your take on Coach Mike Brown and Jordi Fernandez.
Coach Brown's fantastic. I'm going to give a comparison here. Okay, I'm going to go back to my Tractor boys, my Ipswich Town boys over here. So for like the last couple of seasons, we've had some really, really good players, but we've had some absolutely really bad coaches or managers, as we say over here. And it was just about getting the right structure in place, getting the right manager in place, the right coach in place. And when you have that, then the team can blossom. And it's not always about, tactically getting the team right. It's also about bringing the team together and having the right characters in the changing room. And I think Brown does that fantastically with the Kings. And it shows, we've gone from a dog shit team the last few seasons. Walton, for me, he just wasn't very good, was he? Again, I think Walton maybe was okay tactically, but he just didn't seem to be that guy who brought the dressing room together. And I think Brown does that better than anyone else in the NBA, perhaps. Maybe bar Popovich, perhaps. I think Brown is the guy we need to lock down onto a long contract, a little bit like Monty as well. We need to get him locked down onto a nice contract, and I think that will come within the next couple of months. That's my take on that one.
Yeah, great take. I definitely agree there. One of the main differences that I noticed, I mean, there's a lot of different things, but first off, I just think that, before it seemed like we were just more of like a collection of players. Now it finally feels like we're a team, right? Like, these guys like each other. They play well together. They fit well together. They've talked about how they hang out outside of basketball and stuff like that. There was an article today that came out, Draymond Green talking about the altercation he had with Jordan Poole at practice, said that their relationship still isn't really fixed. They don't hang out outside of work or basketball.
Right.
I think that that's still a big impact on that team, and maybe one of the reasons why they have one of the worst road records in the NBA and why they've struggled so much this year, because we've seen them deal with injuries in the past, and they've just had so much firepower in that team. But hey, when it's a culture thing, when it's a rift in between players on your team, it can really, really affect you. So that, for me, is the biggest difference. Fred, we appreciate you hanging out tonight. I got to let you go. I have another person to bring up on stage, but I want to give you the floor
it's been a pleasure.
one more time. If you got anything else you want to say to all the fans out there.
Yeah, just keep doing what you do. Also, big shout out to a guy on there called Rodders. I think he might be a mate of mine. He's the guy who brought up the Tractor Boys. He's a fellow Tractor Boy, if that's actually Rodders as well. So, big shout out to him. But just keep doing what we're doing. And when do we play next? Is it Sunday night?
It's an earlier game.
Sunday.
In San Antonio. So we are going to be live at I think 4:30 Hawaii Standard Time. I don't know what that equals for you, but are you 12 or 13 hours off from us? What time is it there now?
Oh God, what's the time now? The time here now is 10 to 7, 10 to 7 in the morning. Okay. So I don't know
11.
What time is it there.
So
it's 11 where you are.
9. It's almost. It's almost 9 here. So I think we're 10 hours difference.
Yeah.
That's fair. I might be about Sunday. I've got my staff doing, my work staff do on Sunday, so I'm probably going to have a few too many beers. So I'm going to watch the game on my staff do anyway. So, big shout out to the Kings fans. Big shout out to you two. Keep doing what you're doing. And it's nice to see you, see so many more people watching, stream by stream. So, keep it going, boys.
Shout out to Rodders. Shout out to you, Fred. Thank you so much. We appreciate you coming in and talking.
Love you guys.
You have a chance. Get some sleep, buddy.
Yeah, man.
Good luck tomorrow. I'm off to bed now.
All right,
nice one.
Good night,
Thank
man.
you.
Appreciate you.
Cheerio. Bye-bye.
All right. Next up, Calvin. We got our boy Nick here on stage. He's connecting. Nick, how are you? Kings win.
Good. Light the beam tonight.
Light the beam. How are you doing tonight, Nick?
Good. Why not light the beam?
Why not light the beam? Nick, what do you think? We're halfway through the season. I just asked Fred the same question. We're halfway through the season now. How are you feeling about the second half? Do you think the Kings are going to kind of stay the same as they are now? You think they're going to get better?
I think we're looking at going to the playoffs.
Okay. Why not?
Why not make the playoffs?
Why not make the playoffs? The Kings are the 4th seed right now. What do you think they end the year at?
We'll have to see what happens.
Okay.
No predictions?
I think maybe third place.
There you go.
Third place.
Why not?
I like it.
Why not third place?
I like it. Calvin, I don't know if Nick knows about your little predicament. You want to explain to him?
Well, Nick, I don't know if you are aware of this or not, but if the Kings finish 5th place or better, I have to cut my hair. What do you think about that?
Oh my gosh.
I get to cut it, Nick. That's the best part. What
gonna
kind of
be
haircut
on
do
a
you think
live
Calvin
show.
should get?
A mohawk.
Ooh.
Oh, I like that. You know, I had a mohawk once.
Hey,
Yeah.
I gave you a mohawk before, Cal.
That's right.
Wow. Okay. That's
Man,
pretty
that would
cool.
be a blast from
Nick,
the
what'd you
past.
think about that fight tonight? I mean, I wouldn't call it a fight, but we saw all these ejections. What'd you think about that?
That is terrible.
You don't think the Kings, you don't think Monk or Metu should have been ejected?
They should not have.
What about Garrison Matthews?
No. Should have been a first technical foul.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with that, Calvin. As much as I don't like him, Matthews, I mean, I agree. It should have been a technical. They should have moved on, dude. You don't need to eject everybody from the game. That's crazy.
I like it, Nick. Let him play.
Yeah, let him play. Nick, are you still there?
Yes.
I got another question for you. It's not really Kings related, but do you know Forbes magazine?
Yes.
Forbes released an article ranking the best places to live in California. Do you know number one?
I think so.
Sacramento.
Yeah, it's probably number one.
What do you think about that? Do you live in Sacramento or are you outside?
I live in Roseville.
Oh, Roseville.
Roseville.
Okay.
Shout out.
Okay.
Well, the Warriors played the Spurs today.
They played the Spurs tonight. Let me pull it up here.
The Warriors played the Spurs today.
Oh, yeah, they beat them, didn't they?
I believe the Warriors won by 1.
Oh, and they won by a lot, 144 to 113. And the Kings play the Spurs in San Antonio on Sunday. You have any predictions for that game?
Well, they're going to have to win that game.
They have to win that game.
I like that prediction.
That's a great prediction.
Yes.
Kevin, what do you think about that game?
I mean, the Kings should definitely win, right? This is a very winnable game for sure. San Antonio is falling off.
Where are they? Oh, wow. They're 13-30 on the season. They're not looking good. They're not looking good at all.
No.
You want to give us a score prediction, Nick?
How about 133 to 99?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I like
it.
that.
Why not?
133 to 99. I'm not even going to have to sweat during that game.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. I like it. I like it. Are you going to be able to join us on Sunday?
I believe so.
Perfect. We're going to do the show a little bit earlier because it's an early game. So I think we're going to be on like 3 hours earlier than normal.
Okay.
So mark it on your calendar. And you got your practice on Sunday too, right?
Tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow.
Tomorrow. All right.
You excited for that?
Yeah.
I want to know on Sunday what position you're playing.
Okay.
You going to figure that out?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, perfect. All right, buddy. Well, we're going to let you go here. You got anything else you want to say to the royal family out there?
Sweet dreams.
Sweet dreams.
Sweet dreams.
All right, Nick. We appreciate you. Thanks for joining in. We'll talk to you on Sunday.
How about sleep beams?
Sleep beans. I
Sleep
see it in the
beans.
chat here. I love that. Hey, Nick, make sure you get a good night's sleep and eat a good breakfast tomorrow, okay? Get off to a good start and kill him out there.
All righty. Good night.
All right, buddy. Have a good night, man.
Bye-bye.
All right, Calvin.
Sleep beams.
Sleep beams. I like it. I like it. Okay, a couple more things to talk about before we jump here into the Spurs game and the Lakers game. A couple numbers, Calvin. I know you love numbers, so I just want to put a couple numbers out here, and then I want to hear from you, what they mean. So first off, the Kings are currently number one in the NBA in points per game at over 130. They've been killing it the past couple games, right? They have the third highest offensive rating in the NBA, but the 24th ranked defensive rating in the NBA. Also want to throw in there the highest clutch offensive rating in the NBA as well. So what do all those numbers mean to you, Calvin?
Well, I think they mean the Kings have been a good offensive team for years now. But the coaching staff being brought in, I think the style of play, along with a couple of key additions, it's maximizing the potential right now. They're definitely not, I hope not plateauing, but this is, you're seeing the full potential of what this Kings offense and this group of players is capable of. Defensively, I think Katie made a pretty good point on the broadcast tonight that, we look at numbers a lot, especially in today's day and age, analytics, all of that stuff. There's so much information out there and so many numbers out there. It's kind of easy to get lost in them sometimes. But we've said it over and over again on this show. The difference they're building towards defensively, you can see it in the way Mike Brown coaches these guys. You can see it for not sustained full 48 minutes, but you can see it in spurts. You can see it in halves. They're building towards this. If with how good and how talented and how skilled players are, it's pretty easy. Jalen Green's a perfect example tonight. It's pretty easy to see good offense, if you're watching, right? You don't even have to look at numbers, but it can sometimes be harder to see improvements being made on the defensive side. The Kings have a long way to go still. There's no secret about that. They have a lot of holes, but what they do have is a coach who is very defensive minded. He's gotten this team to buy into what they're selling. And that's the most important part, right? It's effort. That's what it boils down to. You have to want to play that way night in and night out and throughout the course of the whole game. And it's hard to maybe see what that's like or want to do that when you're losing year after year after year after year. But you get a guy who comes in from winning teams, who knows what it's like to win in this league, who has the trophies and the accolades to back it up. I think all of that has changed the perception of what these players think is possible and what it's like, to actually work for that. So while the numbers don't show that they're that good right now, and admittingly, compared to the rest of the league, they're not great, but they're making progress. So I think they're capitalizing on what they've already had offensively, and they're growing defensively, and that's going to be a slow process. But the fact that they have a great shot to make the playoffs this year, that's going to be another huge learning experience. And I think when this team comes back again next season, keeping all these main guys intact and keeping the coaching staff in place for another offseason, you might see a much more dramatic improvement.
Yeah, I agree. Shout out to Joe Smith here and Todd Packer for joining in. Also, shout out to Christian for the chat of the night. He said Garrett Matthews uses conditioner before he uses shampoo. Absolutely hilarious. I know that one got Bench Matthew. Also got me also. Two other numbers, Calvin, I want to throw out there. And I know these numbers were about a week ago before we started the homestand, so they might not be completely accurate at the moment. However, the Kings had, the 7th hardest schedule in the NBA up to this point. They got the 3rd easiest going on. So I think that those numbers that I stated earlier, 24th in defensive rating will improve. I think they will get better, right? The Kings, they've been relatively healthy, but there were some stretches where we did lose some players, guys like Terrence Davis, who I thought have played incredibly well on the defensive end of the floor. And I think just overall, teams seem to buckle down a little bit more in the second half of a season as opposed to the first half, especially when you have a new coaching staff, a bunch of new players, stuff like that. So I think the defensive rating will improve. I don't really know how you improve the offensive rating, right? You're 3rd in the NBA. You're the highest scoring team in the NBA. I don't really know how to improve off of that. It's just more of keeping that, maintaining that while buckling down. Like you said a couple of shows ago, getting some more rebounds from the guard, whether that is not leaking out as much? Is that going to affect your offensive rating in terms of not getting up the court, slowing down the pace, less points per game, which is totally okay as long as you can make those adjustments like you were talking about. Get a couple more rebounds, get a couple more stops, maybe a couple more blocks at the basket. I don't think you need to be, in the top 3 of both of those categories, offense and defense, to be a really, really good basketball team. But I'm looking for the Kings to be maybe towards the middle of the pack, maybe 15 to 18, 20 as far as defensive rating, and maybe top 5 in offense. I think this Kings team has all the talent in the world as far as shooting from three-point range, guys that can get to the basket. They have an absolute stud in Sabonis that can do everything on the court. So I think they will continue to get better as the season goes on. It'll be interesting to look at these numbers towards the end of the season, Calvin, to see where the Kings really, really do end up. But you're right. Mike Brown is a defensive-minded guy, so I think that they will buckle up on the defensive end of the floor. Anything else you think that they could do to help improve that defensive rating, or you think it's just time?
Well, a lot of it is time. But rebounds, I think, are the easiest and quickest thing that they're going to help boost their defensive rating, reduce the number of points per game they allow, all of that stuff. And your point about playing fast, it should actually allow them to play even faster if they get a few more defensive rebounds per game, because if you think about it, you're giving up offensive rebounds. That gives you less of a chance to start the break because the other team has the possession again. And if you get an offensive rebound and score, like teams do a lot on Sacramento inside, then you have to take the ball out of bounds as opposed to grabbing the rebound and immediately starting the break. So it should allow them to keep the pace exactly where it is, if not even play a little bit faster, which I think only benefits Sacramento absolutely. But rebounds, because it's I think one of the smallest margins. We talked about it on that show. 2.25 rebounds per game more, which doesn't sound like a huge number. That's team-wide, right? If they get that number, they jump from in the mid-20s to like 14th or 11th or something like that in the NBA. Yep. That's a huge increase for something small that it is, like we talk about, mentality, bringing it every night and focusing on that aspect of the game.
Lydia wants her rebounding and rim protecting big. We'll see, Lydia. What is it, the 13th? We have 2 more days until guys like Mo Bamba and other guys that signed extensions in the offseason are trade eligible. So definitely keep an eye on that. Jay says the big difference in this team this year is because we have bench players that could start on some bad teams. That usually is an indicator of a well-built team. I agree with that. Jim says Mike Brown came in with a box full of rings, got their respect, and said, if you want one of these, listen to me. If you don't play hard, I'll bench your ass. Calvin, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And, sometimes it's a little confusing as a fan, right? We're like, why has Metu not been playing? Why has KZ not had minutes? What happened to Terrence Davis? Stuff like that, right? Coach Brown is really, he loves these guys, but he's a tough love kind of guy. And you make a mistake. We saw it tonight with Terrence Davis. You make a mistake on defense or any other player. He's got this like, I'll call a timeout at any time. I don't care if we're 30 seconds in to the quarter. I'm going to call a timeout. I'm going to call you out. You either fix it or you're getting benched. And it's not a hate thing. It's we want this team to be better. And if you're not making the right plays, you're not ready. You're not prepared. We're going to get you prepared in practice, and then once I feel you're ready, you're going to come back there. And I think we've seen that over and over and over again this season with guys like Terrence Davis, who are finally getting minutes again and playing well. Chimezie Metu, only 7 minutes tonight because he got ejected. But I think he's been playing much, much better. So I think that is a really, really good point, Jim. Calvin, breaking news. The Kings are open to trading Richaun Holmes. This is an article I read yesterday. I don't know if this is breaking to any Kings fans. They knew he was on the block, but apparently it is official now. Apparently it is official that Richaun Holmes is being shopped by the Sacramento Kings. Calvin, how surprised are you on a scale of 1 to 10 here?
-5? Is that possible?
Afghan, good to see you. Joe Smith, have a good night. We'll see you on Sunday. Calvin, we've talked about this ad nauseum over and over and over again about Richaun Holmes. I mentioned he did get to play a little bit tonight, 4 minutes of action, hit a 3 in this game. Also, hit his patented little push shot tonight, which looked good. I think that came off an assist by Dellavedova, a pass-first point guard, somebody that we've talked about, Richaun needs, right, to get going. Any new ideas about who to trade Richaun Holmes for? Because I got nothing, dude.
I mean, there's plenty of guys that you would want to trade him for. But again, the other team has to want to take him and whatever else is involved in the deal. So this is something that, I'm just going to leave to the professionals. This is in Monty's hands. He'll hopefully find a good landing spot for Richaun while also getting something in return that benefits the Kings.
Shout out to Adam. Adam says trade him for Naz Reid. I know Calvin's
Adam.
Big fan of Naz Reid. Calvin, this is a interesting question. Don't hate me for it, guys, in the chat. Don't hate me. I'm not suggesting it. It's just a question. But a couple shows ago, I talked about the advantages of making a trade with Atlanta, right? Because Atlanta owns the Kings' first-round pick 2 years from now. Then they have, if it doesn't convey because it's protected, it could last for a couple years. That doesn't allow the Kings to trade a first-round pick for like 5 years from now, which is a long, long time. So if you are able to unprotect that pick, it's almost like trading a first-round pick to Atlanta, and it also opens up that pick and allowing you to trade maybe 2027, 2026, stuff like that. So my question for you is, yeah, I know, Rodders, you hate me already. My question for you is, Calvin, would you consider trading Kevin Huerter back to Atlanta? I mean, I'm talking about maybe starting a Terrence Davis or a Malik Monk or a Davion Mitchell, trading Kevin Huerter, Richaun Holmes, and maybe unprotecting that draft pick for a guy like John Collins. Is that crazy?
You definitely surprised me. I did not expect to hear Kevin Huerter's name. I need more time to think about that. What I don't need more time to think about is trading for John Collins. If there's a possibility to do that, the more that I've looked at this, the more that I've thought about it, Lydia, you're going to love this. John Collins is top 10 in the NBA in blocks per game. I think offensively, he would fit with this team as well. He hasn't really shot it from three very well so far this season. But the Kings do have a bunch of other players that are shooting very well from three right now. I think that John Collins on the team that is fourth in the NBA or third or whatever it is in pace per game plays very fast with De'Aaron Fox. That could be really exciting. And defensively, he's surprised me with what he's been able to do. So putting him next to Domantas Sabonis, keeping him in the same type of position, same type of role, not trying to add another big guy that might, clog up the lane necessarily or take passing lanes away from what Sabonis does out there. I think that's really important. So I like the idea of trading for John Collins if it's possible. The question is, what do you have to give up? The Kings are undoubtedly going to have to give up a decent amount. I've heard Atlanta is going to ask for a major, major deal in return, something like the Rudy Gobert trade, which we all kind of think is not going to happen ultimately. I would be shocked if any team made, I don't want to say that mistake because it's
a mistake, Calvin. You could say it.
They're not. I mean, give it a little more time. Karl Anthony Towns hasn't been healthy. I know it hasn't been perfect for them, but I'd be surprised, given the way Minnesota has played so far this year, to see another team take that big of a risk and give up that much. I certainly wouldn't recommend the Kings do it. If there is a way to finalize some deal to get John Collins where you feel like you're not giving up too much, and I'm not sure if I'm including Kevin Huerter in that or not yet, but I do like the idea of getting John Collins.
Yeah, Yeah, I just thought that's an interesting thing to think about, right? Because they know they made a mistake giving up Herter. He's playing incredibly well in Sacramento. We do have a bunch of guards. Can't figure out who we want to start, and the draft pick situation as well. So maybe it would work, maybe it wouldn't. But that is very, very interesting.
The problem for me, looking at it from Atlanta's perspective, is they have a ton of guards and wings. Like, that's their entire team. And that's what, the Kings want to give up Richaun Holmes. But does Atlanta really want Richaun Holmes? Probably not. Do they want they want young assets, they want draft picks, all that stuff makes sense. But, Harrison Barnes, if I'm Atlanta, I don't want Harrison Barnes. I've got AJ Griffin. I've got DeAndre Hunter. I've got DeJounte Murray. My wings are pretty set, and I've got young guys there too. Jalen Johnson is another guy. Yeah. I realize Harrison Barnes is a veteran, but he doesn't really seem to fit on that team. They're pretty loaded in that area. So it's interesting. I'm not sure Sacramento has exactly the right pieces to make that deal happen, but it would be great if they could.
Yeah, I mean, they're the new Houston Rockets, right? You shoot a bunch of threes, and you got Clint Capella inside cleaning it up. So interesting there. Shout out to Clint Capella, number 2 in the NBA in rebounds. Bouncer, sorry, I'm not going to make a poll. I don't even know how to put all that in words that'll fit on the screen. But definitely something to think about. Maybe something Calvin and I can think about on Saturday and get back to you guys on Sunday. But, hey, Calvin, I think that pretty much wraps up that. Let's move on here and talk about the next game. So, Kings are on a 3-game winning streak after losing 2 at home, 1 versus the Hawks, 1 against the Lakers. They go on to beat Orlando, and 2 games here against the Houston Rockets. Sunday's game is against the second worst team in the Western Conference, the San Antonio Spurs. Greg Popovich is still holding on to that team. He's trying to hold on to the reins as hard as he can. The wheels are falling off, and they're facing the best offensive team in the NBA on Sunday, Calvin, the Sacramento Kings. We know Pop hates the 3. The Kings are going to be shooting a ton of those on Sunday. So we know he's going to be hating that. Kevin Huerter is still listed on the injury report, is out. I'm not sure if that will change. I heard he was in the locker room tonight when the chain was given out. He's recovering from a non-COVID-related illness, so hopefully he's not giving that to any other Kings players, and hopefully he's healthy enough to play on Sunday. Nobody on the injury report for the Spurs. Calvin, is this an easy win for the Kings? Is this a trap game? What are your thoughts on this game?
I don't know if there's an easy win in professional sports, right? I mean, there are definitely teams that you should beat. This is one of those teams. The Kings should definitely win this game. The good news is they're playing really, really well right now. They're shooting the ball really, really well. And if they do that against these, lower ranked teams in the NBA, they can beat any team in the NBA when they shoot this well. Playing teams like the Spurs and the Rockets and the Pistons, you're really stacked. The deck is really stacked against you when the Kings come in and shoot like that. So if they continue to do that, then yeah, this should be an easy win.
Key King says any team coached by Pop is not an easy win. Yeah, I mean, I feel that too. But hey, they only got 13 wins on the season, and they're definitely struggling. So maybe not an easy win, but definitely a lot easier than that road trip that we last went on. So really happy about that. Shout out to Tanvir Calvin. We got a Tanvir sighting in the chat. Tanvir, always good to see you. And yes, Adam, Terrence Davis
Light the beam.
Had another big game tonight. We would love to trade for Siakam. I know Calvin's a huge Siakam fan. I just don't know what it's going to take.
Got that right.
And I mentioned all those draft picks. They're tied up with the Atlanta Kevin Huerter trade. So that's kind of why I'm leaning more towards a trade with Atlanta than a trade with a team like the Raptors, because maybe we would have to break up the core, which, I mean, I don't know who you even consider the core at this point, right? Like Fox and Sabonis are easy, right? Is Keegan part of the core? Is HB part of the core? Is Herter? I'm not really sure where that lies. But I like the chemistry this Kings team has. I'm not looking to make like a huge move. I think they just need to add a little bit more. And I think Monty is definitely capable of doing that. Rodders has got a question for you, Calvin. He says, the last time we were 25-18, does anybody know? I know currently 5 games above 500. The last time we did it was 2006. As far as 7 games above 500, I mean, I would guess 2006. Calvin, you have any thoughts there?
It's got to be in that range, somewhere from, I don't know the exact year. I'll say 2004.
2004. That sounds about right. I'll give you an A for effort on that one, Calvin. All right, let's hear your keys for the game on Sunday.
I don't have many specific ones for this game. I think the Kings just need to keep the momentum going here. I want to see them come out right away, be aggressive like they were tonight. I'm looking for how they play defensively. This is, like we said, not maybe an easy game, but a game that they should be expected to win. Coming off of a good homestand, not as good as people were expecting or hoping for, but a good homestand. And I think the way that they finished it with the offensive efficiency, and especially tonight, the second half defensively was much better. So they just need to build off of what they're doing here, focus on crashing the glass, and continuing to keep a concerted effort to rebound. That's a really important thing here for the Kings moving forward.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think don't take this game too lightly. You got to take it seriously. I think you got to rebound. Watch out for Pirtle. You got to shoot the ball well in this game. And I think you do all those things, you should definitely come out with a victory. But, hey, I'm excited for Sunday's game. Calvin, I'm even more excited for Wednesday's game because we're playing the Lakers again, Calvin. Yeah, it's in L.A. Last time we were in L.A., we heard chants of Light the Beam. That was against the Clippers. How great would that be against the L.A. Lakers? So I'm definitely excited for that. But, hey, I think that pretty much wraps up the show for us tonight. Please, guys, make sure you smash up that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Calvin and I are live after every single Kings game. Calvin, any last words for the royal family out there tonight?
Thanks for watching. Terrence Davis Sr., shout out. Happy 48th birthday. Your son balled out tonight.
Yeah, great game. What's better than that for a birthday present? But, hey, thank you guys so much. We appreciate you all for joining in. We got a lot of regulars in the chat tonight, so appreciate you all so much. Dude, I feel great. The Kings are finally good, Calvin. I don't want to jinx. I'm going to knock on some wood over here. But, hey, I'm feeling great. The Kings are winning basketball games, and I'm looking for another win on Sunday. So we'll see you guys on Sunday. In the meantime, go Kings. That's my bouncer right there.